The wheelchair rolled to a stop beside the empty table, its polished steel reflecting the rain-streaked window of the emerald grille. Elias Gorn's jaw tightened as he checked his custom titanium phone for the third time in 10 minutes. No messages, no apologies, just the crushing weight of being stood up. The other patrons, a mix of raincoat-clad tech workers and Seattle's old money elite, tried not to stare, but he felt their pity like wet, clinging fabric against his skin. The great Elias Thorne, feared leader of the shadowy Thorne conglomerate, a massive organization that controlled global logistics, private financing, and operations that skirted every line in the legal code, reduced to waiting alone like a relic of his former self. His accident 2 years ago had shattered his body and, seemingly, the respect he commanded. He was about to gesture to Gareth, his second-in-command who stood by the door, when the bell above the door chimed. A woman entered, Lena Harper. Her dark brown skin, usually rich and warm, looked slightly drawn under the soft cafe lights. Natural coils of hair framed her face, and a small girl's hand, Maya, clasped firmly in hers. Lena wore a thin raincoat over a slightly rumpled blouse, the kind of clothing that spoke of utility, not luxury. Lena, pushing open the heavy glass door against the relentless Seattle drizzle, tried not to think about the $47 left in her bank account. The interview at the downtown law firm's catering service had gone well, or at least she thought it had, but "will call you" rarely meant actual calls. Still, she'd promised Maya hot chocolate if she was patient during the interview, and Lena Harper always kept her promises to her daughter, even when keeping them hurt. College students buried in glowing laptops, a silver-haired couple sharing a lemon scone, and a man in a sophisticated, black motorized wheelchair positioned near the window. His profile was sharp, almost painfully striking, even in the dim light. He radiated a cold, contained intensity that made her instinctively steer Maya toward the far counter. "Mommy, can I get the one with the whipped cream volcano?" Maya tugged on her hand, bouncing on her toes with barely contained 6-year-old excitement. "We'll see what they have, baby," Lena murmured, guiding them. But Maya, the tension had already shifted, her curious gaze fixed on the man by the window. Before Lena could utter a warning about stranger danger, her daughter had pulled free and was walking straight toward him. "Maya, no!" Lena started, her voice a terrified whisper, but it was too late. "Mister, why do you look so sad?" Maya's clear voice cut through the quiet cafe chatter. Mortification flooded through Lena. The man's dark, almost obsidian eyes lifted to meet hers across the room, and she rushed forward. "I am so sorry," Lena gasped as she reached the table. "She doesn't understand boundaries. Maya, come here right now." But when she reached them, the words died in her throat. Up close, Elias Thorne was breathtaking. Sharp cheekbones, a precisely styled sweep of black hair, and eyes that seemed to see straight through the defenses Lena worked so hard to maintain. He wore a perfectly tailored dark gray suit that probably cost more than a year of her wages, and there was something in the way he held himself, even seated, that spoke of power that had been restrained, not lost. "It's all right," Elias said, his voice low, resonant, and possessing a faint, refined British inflection. His gaze shifted from Maya to Lena, and she felt the weight of his attention like a physical thing, warm, genuine, and completely unafraid of the man everyone else was clearly avoiding. "Your daughter is observant," he finished. "She's also supposed to know better than to bother strangers," Lena said firmly, placing a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder. "Come on, sweetie, let's order." "I'm not bothering him, Mommy."
"Look, there's 2 cups at his table, but he's all alone. Someone left him." Maya's innocent observation landed like a small, devastating bomb. Lena's eyes darted to the table. Sure enough, 2 coffee cups sat there, one untouched, one completely full. Elias's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those dark eyes, a flash of anger, quickly banked, perhaps pain. "Maya, that's enough," Lena said quietly, squeezing her daughter's shoulder in warning. Then to Elias, "I really am sorry. We'll leave you alone now." "Wait," his voice stopped her mid-turn. "Please, sit." "Oh, we couldn't possibly," Lena insisted, her pride flaring. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Your daughter is right. Someone did leave me. It would be a shame to waste the coffee I ordered for her." Lena hesitated. Every instinct told her this man was dangerous, not in a street thug way, but in the way of expensive things she couldn't afford to be near. Yet something in his controlled vulnerability, in the slight downturn of his lips, made her nod. "Just for a minute," she said, helping Maya into the chair before taking the other seat. "I'm Lena. This is my daughter, Maya." "Elias Thorne," he said simply. "That's a cool name," Maya declared, already warming up to him. "Why are you in a wheelchair? Did you hurt your legs?" "Maya!" Lena felt heat rise in her cheeks. "It's all right," Elias said, his lips curving into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Yes, I hurt my legs in an accident. I can't walk anymore." "Do you like hot chocolate? That's what Mommy promised." "I've never tried it," Elias admitted. "Never?" Maya looked scandalized. "Mommy, he's never had hot chocolate?" "I'm sure Mr. Thorne has had plenty of things I haven't, baby," Lena said gently, feeling the immediate weight of the class difference. His watch alone probably cost more than she made in 3 months. Elias's eyes found hers again, and this time she saw something sharpen in his gaze. "You'd be surprised what I've missed," he said quietly. Before Lena could respond, Maya tugged on her sleeve. "Mommy, can we get him hot chocolate too, since his date left him?" "Maya, we can't just," Lena started, but Elias interrupted. "I would be honored," he said, his tone formal but warm. "But please, allow me to buy for all of us. It's the least I can do for the company." "We can't accept," Lena began, her spine straightening with fierce pride. "Please," something in his voice made her pause. "I would very much like to know what I've been missing. And your daughter is right. Being alone is not how I intended to spend this afternoon." Lena looked at him, really looked. Beneath the expensive clothes and commanding presence, she saw loneliness, the kind that matched the dull ache in her own chest. "All right," she said, "but just hot chocolate. We can't stay long." Maya's squeal of delight made several patrons turn, but Lena barely noticed. She was too focused on the way Elias's expression softened, the careful walls cracking just enough to let her see the man beneath. As he called over a server with the subtle authority of someone used to being obeyed, Lena wondered what kind of man got stood up on a date, and more pressingly, why she already cared about the answer. $18,437. Maya's emergency appendectomy had saved her daughter's life, but it had also annihilated any hope of financial stability Lena had been clinging to. "Miss Harper," the hospital administrator's voice was sympathetic but firm. "We need to discuss payment options." "I understand," Lena heard herself say, though she understood nothing except that she was drowning. "I'll figure something out." She left the office on shaking legs, her phone already pressed to her ear as she called her boss at the diner where she'd finally landed a steady job. "Marcus, I know I just started, but I need to pick up more shifts, as many as you can give me. Doubles, triples, I don't care."
Lena, you're already working 6 days a week. And didn't your daughter just get out of the hospital? "She's staying with my neighbor. I need the hours, Marcus, please." The silence on the other end spoke volumes. "I'll see what I can do, but Lena, there are only so many hours in a day." She knew. God, she knew. But what choice did she have? Her phone buzzed with a text as she headed toward the bus stop. Unknown number. Is this Lena from the Emerald Grill? Her finger hovered over the delete button. "This is Elias Thorne. Your daughter left her stuffed rabbit at the cafe. The owner saved it." Lena's breath caught. She'd been so focused on Maya's sudden stomach pain that night that she hadn't even realized Mr. Hoppy was missing. Maya had been asking about him for days. "Thank you," she texted back. I'll try to pick it up this week. The response came immediately. I have it. I asked the owner for your number. I hope that's not inappropriate. It probably was, but right now, knowing she could give Maya her beloved rabbit back was the only bright spot in her disaster of a day. I'll be there. Meanwhile, in a sprawling, soundproof office 50 stories above the city, Elias studied a file on his desk. $18,437, Elias murmured, not looking up from the printout. 10 p.m. today. I've established a small account for the daughter's follow-up care. Good. And her employment status. Rosie's Diner, minimum wage, 3 weeks in. Her savings are depleted, and she's actively attempting to take on triple shifts. Neighbors describe her as prideful and fiercely independent, exactly as anticipated, sir. Elias leaned back, the dark leather chair creaking softly. You ran a full background check on a single mother who served me coffee? Gareth's expression remained blank. You asked for her contact information and secured a sentimental item. We monitor all interactions with the principal, Mr. Thorne. Elias sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. I was stood up, Gareth. The only threat she poses is to my peace of mind. With respect, sir, you haven't had peace of mind since the accident. This woman and her child are the first thing that has visibly distracted you from business in 2 years. That makes them a vulnerability or an asset. She's neither. She's a decent woman who needs help, and I need a new personal assistant, Elias said, though the deflection felt weak, even to himself. The truth was, he couldn't stop thinking about the feeling of her hand on his chair, the genuine worry in her eyes, the complete lack of fear in the child. He needed a reason to see her again, and paying a bill was the fastest way through her pride. The previous PA lasted 6 weeks. She cited the demands, the secrecy, and the general unpleasantness of dealing with your partners. 9 p.m. tomorrow. Make sure it's in the conference room overlooking the shipping port. Gareth raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise in his rigid demeanor. Mean-hose boy. He's been quiet since the merger. Why now? Because he senses weakness. He thinks a man who cannot walk cannot lead a conglomerate built on logistics and speed. I want him to know I'm still 3 steps ahead, and I want him to know who is now guarding my flank. Elias arrived at the Emerald Grill 20 minutes early, the stuffed rabbit sitting on his lap. He wondered if he'd completely lost his mind. He'd built an empire on cold calculation and ruthless efficiency. He didn't chase after women, he didn't save stuffed animals, and he certainly didn't spend 3 weeks thinking about warm brown eyes and a little girl's innocent question about why he looked sad. You're here early, sir, Gareth noted, from his usual position by the door. This isn't like you. Just observe, Elias said shortly. He knew what his men thought, that he'd gone soft since the accident, that a man in a wheelchair couldn't truly lead the Thorne conglomerate. The whispers were growing. The rivals, like Julian Vance, were circling, smelling blood in the water. Let them try. He'd built his reputation on being 3 steps ahead of everyone else. The wheelchair hadn't changed that. If anything, it had made him more dangerous because he had nothing left to lose except what truly mattered, the empire he had nearly died for. Lena entered, and Elias felt his chest tighten. She looked exhausted, shadows under her eyes, shoulders slumped with invisible weight. She wore the same diner uniform he'd seen through the window of Rosie's Diner when he'd driven past earlier, a confirmation of Gareth's research. Hi, she said softly, approaching his table. I'm sorry, I came straight from work. You work at Rosie's Diner? The words came out before he could stop them. She blinked, surprised. How did you... I saw you through the window last week, he lied smoothly, gesturing to the seat. Please sit. She did, her gaze landing on the stuffed rabbit. Oh, Mr. Hoppy, Maya has been heartbroken. She reached for it, and Elias saw her hands were shaking. Thank you so much for keeping him safe. Where is Maya tonight? With my neighbor. She just got out of the hospital. Lena's voice cracked slightly. Emergency appendicitis. She's fine now, but the bills, Elias finished quietly. Her eyes snapped to his, pride and pain warring in their depths. I'll handle it. I'm sure you will. He studied her for a moment. How much? That's not your concern. How much, Lena? Her name felt right in his mouth, intimate in a way that should have concerned him. She stood abruptly.
Thank you for returning, Mr. Hoppy. I should go. $18,437. Elias watched her freeze. That's the standard cost for a pediatric appendicitis at Seattle Children's, including 3-night stay and follow-up care. How close am I? The color drained from her face. How could you possibly? Sit down, please. He waited until she slowly sank back into the chair. I'm offering you a job. A job? Her voice was flat with disbelief. My personal assistant quit last week. She said working for me was too demanding. He kept his tone even, businesslike. I need someone organized, reliable, and unafraid to speak their mind. Your daughter already proved you raised someone with that quality. You want to hire me because my 6-year-old asked you why you look sad? I want to hire you because you've been working 2 jobs while raising a daughter alone, and you still took time to make sure a stranger wasn't lonely. He leaned forward. The salary is $90,000 a year, plus health insurance that will cover Maya's hospital bills. Lena's sharp intake of breath was audible. You can't be serious. 9 a.m., we'll discuss the details. She stared at the card like it might bite her. What's the catch? No catch. I need an assistant. You need money. It's a simple transaction. Nothing is simple with men like you, Lena said quietly. And I don't even know what you do. For all I know, you could be dangerous. Elias replied, the words a quiet promise. I am, but not to you. Never to you or your daughter. The certainty in his voice made something shift in her expression. She picked up the card, her fingers brushing his for a brief moment that sent electricity racing up his arm. Why me? You could hire anyone. I'm offering it to you. He held her gaze. Take the night to think about it. But Lena, the hospital will start collection procedures in 30 days. You don't have time to be proud. Her jaw tightened. I'll think about it. She stood, clutching the stuffed Mabbit and his business card like lifelines. At the door, she paused and looked back at him. That woman who stood you up, she's an idiot.
Then she was gone, leaving Elias alone with the ghost of her words and the absolute certainty that he'd just done something that would change everything. His phone buzzed. Text from Gareth. Julian Vance is calling an informal meeting tomorrow with the Western Region heads. He is testing your authority. Elias deleted the message. Tomorrow, he would deal with rivals and threats and the brutal reality of his world. Tonight, he would allow himself to imagine what it might be like to have someone look at him the way Lena had, not with pity or fear, but with something that felt dangerously like hope. Lena stood outside the glass tower in downtown Seattle, its heights making her dizzy as she craned her neck upward. The address on Elias's card led here, to one of the most expensive buildings in the city, the Rainier Tower. She'd researched Elias Thorne last night until her eyes burned. Thorne Conglomerate, global logistics, private equity, massive import/export holdings, connections that made her stomach churn with warning bells she was choosing to ignore. She needed this job. Maya needed this job. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. The lobby was all polished marble and chrome, intimidatingly beautiful. A receptionist looked up as she approached. Lena Harper. The receptionist's expression shifted from cool professionalism to something warmer. Ah, yes, Mr. Thorne said to send you directly up, penthouse floor. She handed over a keycard. The elevator ride felt endless. Lena watched the floor numbers climb, 30, 40, 50, and wondered what she was walking into. The doors finally opened directly into a massive penthouse office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking, sweeping view of Puget Sound and the city. Elias sat behind an enormous desk carved from dark wood, his motorized wheelchair barely visible. He looked up as she entered, and something in his expression, relief perhaps, eased. You came. Oh, a.m. this morning to tell me my balance was 0. Yes, I didn't accept the job yet. I know. He gestured to the chair across from him. Consider it a signing bonus. You can refuse the position if you want. The bill is still paid. Lena's throat tightened. Why would you do that? Because your daughter needed surgery, and you shouldn't have to choose between her health and keeping a roof over your heads. He said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. Do you want the job or not? She should say no. Every instinct screamed that accepting help from this man would complicate her life in ways she couldn't imagine. But she looked at him, really looked, and saw the loneliness she'd glimpsed at the cafe, deeper now, like a wound that never healed. What would I actually be doing? She asked carefully. Managing my schedule, taking sensitive calls, organizing credible meetings, handling private contracts for the conglomerate. He paused. Sometimes accompanying me to events, being present, being my eyes and ears in rooms where I cannot physically stand. Being present, she repeated. That's vague. I need someone I can trust in my space, someone who won't run when things get difficult, someone who understands the nature of this organization. His eyes locked on hers. You don't know me. I know you keep promises to your daughter even when you can barely afford to. I know you stopped to sit with a stranger because your child thought he looked sad. I know you've been working yourself to exhaustion trying to hold your world together. His voice dropped lower. I know what that feels like, the struggle to maintain control. The vulnerability in those words cracked something in her chest. Okay, she heard her say, I'll take the job, but I have conditions. Name them. 5 p.m., no exceptions. And if she's sick, I go to her, no matter what meeting you have. Agreed. And this is purely professional. Boss and employee, nothing else. Something flickered in Elias's expression. Disappointment, maybe? But then a sharp nod. Of course, professional. Good. Lena stood, extending her hand. He took her hand, his grip firm and warm. The contact sent a familiar, unwelcome current up her arm. Now, I have a meeting in an hour with some business partners. You'll sit in, take notes. They're based in Seattle, controlling the flow of goods into the port. What kind of business partners? The kind who will test you, he replied. The kind who deal in the gray area of logistics and capital flow. Some of them won't like that I hired you. They'll say things. Do you trust yourself to handle it? I've been handling men who underestimate me my whole life, Mr. Thorne. Your business partners don't scare me. Elias, he corrected. If we're going to work together, use my name. Elias, she repeated, the syllables formal yet not unpleasant on her tongue. 10 a.m. The meeting was exactly as Elias had warned. 5 men in expensive suits, members of the conglomerate's regional command, their eyes tracking Lena's every move with expressions ranging from skepticism to outright hostility. The youngest of them, Julian Vance, sharp-featured with calculating eyes, held the floor. The Q3 report on the Osaka shipment is weak. We can save $3 million in tariffs if we use the secondary cargo vessel and reroute through the Vancouver network, bypassing the main customs inspection in the Puget Sound. It's a calculated risk, Elias. Lena's pen stilled on her notepad. Bypassing main customs. This wasn't logistics. This was outright smuggling. And the penalty if we're intercepted, Julian? Elias asked, his voice even. A slap on the wrist. We know the right people in Vancouver. Vance glanced at Lena. And who is the attractive new observer, Elias? Your previous assistant, Ms. Wallace, was significantly less distracting. Another man leaned in and spoke to Vance in hushed Korean. This is your new assistant? She's very decorative. Lena's heart pounded, but her face remained impassive. She didn't speak Korean, but tone was universal. Speak English, Elias said, his voice dropping into something dangerous. Or don't speak at all. The room went silent. The man who'd spoken flushed red. My apologies. I meant no disrespect. You meant exactly disrespect. Elias's hands were flat on the mahogany table, knuckles white. Miss Harper is my assistant because she's competent, intelligent, and loyal. If anyone has a problem with that, there's the door. No one moved. Good. Elias turned his attention back to the papers. Now, Julian, about the Vance Network's Q3 losses. Lena kept taking notes, but her heart was pounding. She'd expected to have to defend herself. She hadn't expected Elias to do it for her with such absolute, chilling authority that the room seemed to shrink around him. The meeting ended 40 minutes later. As the men filed out, Julian Vance lingered. "Elias," he said in English, "a word, privately." "Lena, give us a moment," Elias said quietly. She stood, gathering her laptop. As she passed Vance, he smiled at her, cold and assessing. "Welcome to the organization, Miss Harper. I hope you survive it. Touch her, or her child, and die." Lena pressed her back against the wall, her breath coming too fast. What had she walked into? The door opened. Julian Vance emerged, his expression dark, a contained rage in his eyes. He barely glanced at her as he strode past, but she felt the weight of his anger like a physical presence. "Lena," Elias's voice called from inside, "come back in." She did, closing the door carefully behind her. "What was that about?" "Julian Vance expressing his displeasure with my choice of assistant and my continued leadership," Elias said, his expression carved from stone. "He'll get over it. And if he doesn't, he'll learn why challenging me is a mistake." He studied her face. "Are you afraid?" Lena thought about it. She should be. Everything about this screams danger and organized crime. But when she looked at Elias, she didn't see a threat to her. She saw a man fighting to hold on to power in a world that wanted to take it from him. "No," she said honestly. "Should I be?" "Probably." His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Her phone buzzed. Text from her neighbor. "Maya is asking when you'll be home. She wants to show you her homework." Reality crashed back in. "I need to go pick up my daughter." "Of course." Elias glanced at his watch. "It's only noon." "Take the rest of the day. Get settled. Tomorrow we'll start properly." "You're paying me to work full days. I'm paying you to be present when I need you. Today, your daughter needs you more." He held her gaze. "Go, Lena." She nodded, gathering her things. At the door, she paused. "Thank you for what you said in the meeting. I meant every word." The intensity in his voice made her breath catch. "No one disrespects you. Not in my presence." Lena left before she could examine why those words made her heart race. But in the elevator, alone with her reflection, she couldn't deny the truth. She was in way over her head, and the scariest part was how much she didn't want to leave. 2 months into her new job, Lena had learned 3 things about Elias Thorne. He never slept more than 4 hours a night, he hated being pitied, and he was absolutely, devastatingly dangerous when someone threatened what was his. She learned the last part when Julian Vance made his move. "Your pretty assistant's daughter goes to Lincoln Elementary. Cute kid. Be a shame if she missed the bus." Her hands shaking, she opened the text. The attached photo was of Maya leaving school that afternoon, her neighbor walking beside her. The angle suggested it had been taken from a car across the street. Lena's vision went red. She was halfway to the elevator when rational thought returned. She couldn't just run. She needed Elias. The meeting room door opened. Elias and Gareth emerged, and Elias's eyes immediately found hers across the office. Whatever he saw in her expression made him move faster than she'd ever seen, the wheelchair's motor humping as he crossed the space between them. What happened? His voice was deadly calm. "Your phone," she thrusted at him. "Maya, they sent a photo." Elias took the phone, read the message, and went completely still. When he looked up, his eyes held something that made her understand exactly why people feared him. Pure, terrifying, protective rage. "Gareth," he called, not raising his voice, but making it carry like a siren. "Get the car now. Call the surveillance teams. I want a trace on this number and the address of every Vance holding in the state within the hour." "Elias, where is Maya now?" Her focus was entirely on him, intense and absolute. "With my neighbor, at my apartment, but if they were watching the school, they won't touch her," he said with such certainty that some of her panic eased. "I promise you, Lena, they won't touch her." "How can you be sure?"
Because Vance knows that if he does, I will burn his entire network to the ground. I won't freeze his accounts. I will eliminate his legacy. Elias's phone was already at his ear, rapid, cold English spilling out as he gave orders. Then to her, "We're going to get your daughter right now. We are going. You think I'm letting you out of my sight when someone just threatened you? Get your things. We leave in 60 seconds." The car ride to her apartment felt like hours. Elias spent the entire time on the phone, coordinating with people Lena couldn't see. She caught words like security perimeter, asset liquidation, and terminate the threat. "What are you doing?" she asked quietly when he ended a call. "Protecting what's mine." The words came out before he seemed to register them. He looked at her, something raw in his expression. "I mean, I know what you meant." Her voice was barely a whisper. When they arrived at her weathered 3-story walk-up in a working-class neighborhood, Elias stared at the crumbling steps with barely concealed frustration. "How do you—" "We call Miss Harper's neighbor down," Gareth said simply from the driver's seat. "No." Lena was already out of the car. "I'll get Maya. You two stay here where people can see you. If they're watching, let them see we're not afraid." Elias caught her wrist, his grip gentle but insistent. "Lena, 5 minutes. If you're not back in 5 minutes, I'm coming up, stairs or not." She nodded, running for the entrance. They didn't breathe properly until they were back in the car, Maya tucked against Lena's side, blissfully unaware of the danger that had circled her. "Who's he?" Maya asked, pointing at Elias. "This is Mr. Thorne, remember, from the cafe?" "Oh, the sad man. But you look less sad now. Did you finally try hot chocolate?" Despite everything, Elias's lips twitched. "Not yet." "You should. It makes everything better." Maya settled back against Lena. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe," Elias said, his eyes meeting Lena's over Maya's head. "Somewhere no one can hurt you." Somewhere safe turned out to be Elias's penthouse apartment, 60 stories of sleek luxury that made Lena's apartment look like a matchbox. As they settled in, with Maya quickly exploring, Elias motioned for Lena to join him in the kitchen. "We can't stay here," Lena insisted. "You can. You will, at least until I've dealt with Vance." "Dealt with?" Elias pulled a bottle of scotch from a high, remote shelf that he accessed with a specialized automated reacher. He poured a finger for himself, then looked at her. "Vance crossed a line. Threatening you was bad enough, but your daughter, that is unforgivable. This is because he thinks I am weak. This is because of me, because you hired me. This is because Vance wants my position and thinks I'm brittle now." Elias's voice was hard. "He's about to learn otherwise. I don't want you to do something you'll regret." "The only thing I regret," he interrupted, finally looking at her fully, "is putting you in danger in the first place. I should have anticipated this. I know what these men are capable of. I'm one of them, Lena. Or I was before." He gestured to the wheelchair with barely contained bitterness. "Before the accident," she finished softly. Elias's eyes darkened, filled with a memory that was clearly a nightmare. 2 years ago, I was in Budapest, closing the biggest merger in the conglomerate's history. Vance's father, the original power, was old. He feared my speed. He feared the future." He took a slow sip of the scotch, staring into the middle distance. "I was driving a secure route on the outskirts of the city. Rain, heavy. My car was armored, but they were waiting. It wasn't an attack to kill me. It was calculated. They drove my security detail off the road, and then a precision strike, an EMP, fried my hydraulics. I ended up pinned against the concrete barrier of a bridge, the lower half of my body crushed by the twisted steel of the driver's seat." He paused, gathering his formidable control. "It wasn't an accident. It was an ambush orchestrated by those who thought I was getting too powerful. They intended to paralyze me, to neuter me, to make me a figurehead they could control. Vance, specifically, was part of the internal cleanup, ensuring I was stranded in the wreckage while the vultures circled my territory. They were wrong. They only succeed in taking my legs. They didn't take my mind, and they certainly didn't take my spirit." Lena moved before thinking, crossing the distance between them to kneel beside his wheelchair. "You're not weak.
Anyone who thinks that is a fool. You run an empire from that chair. You don't know what I've done, what I'm capable of. I know you paid off a stranger's hospital bill. I know you defended me in a room full of men who wanted to dismiss me. I know you just promised my daughter she'd be safe, and I believe you." She reached up, her hand cupping his jaw, feeling the tension there. "I don't care what you were. I care who you are now." Elias's hand came up to cover hers, his fingers trembling slightly. "You should run from me. I'm a single mother with nothing to my name, and a daughter who needs stability. I don't have the luxury of running from anything." She smiled sadly. "Besides, I think we both know I stopped wanting to run weeks ago." The air between them went electric. Elias's eyes darkened, his thumb tracing the line of her wrist. "Lena." "Mommy, Mr. Thorne, come look at this view." Maya's voice shattered the moment. They pulled apart, but the awareness lingered. As they joined Maya at the window, watching the city lights spread out beneath them, Lena felt the shift in her chest. The moment when everything changed from temporary to something far more dangerous. She was falling for him, and judging by the way Elias's hand found hers in the darkness, the way his fingers laced through hers with a possession that felt like a promise, she wasn't falling alone. The war with Julian Vance lasted 7 days. Lena didn't see most of it, but she lived through the tension. Elias insisted she and Maya remain in the penthouse under Gareth's guard. The first 3 days were the freezing and the counterstrike. Lena sat in the office taking notes while Elias and Gareth coordinated the assault. "Vance moved 3 containers of high-value pharmaceuticals through the Vancouver network this morning, sir," Gareth reported, his voice tight. "Illegal manifest. They're running a clean bill of lading on top." Elias didn't flinch. "Send the code word to Captain Reynolds at the Port Authority. Alert Customs to a sudden inspection on the primary vessel. When the primary is delayed, Vance will panic and attempt to reroute the secondary, exposing the true cargo. Liquidate every account that touches Vance's holding company in the Caymans. I want him operating on cash only by midnight." It was logistics, power, and organized intimidation, all executed with ruthless corporate efficiency. On the 4th day, the personal attacks began again. The security guard placed outside the apartment found a dead rabbit, not Mr. Hoppy, but a similar toy, placed neatly on the doormat. A chilling warning. Elias was cold fury. He cornered Lena after Maya went to bed. "I need you to tell me everything. Every interaction, every location Vance might know about." "The only thing he knew was the school," Lena whispered, "and Rosie's diner." "It's enough." Elias turned his chair toward the windows, staring out at the rain-swept city. "I should have left you alone. I put a target on you." "You protected me. You paid my bills and gave me a job that gave me back my pride. I am a target because I am with you, Elias, and I choose to be with you." On the 7th morning, Elias returned from the office, looking exhausted but grimly satisfied. He found Lena in the kitchen, making breakfast. "It's done," he said simply. "Vance is gone. No one will threaten you again." "Gone where?" she asked carefully. "Does it matter?" "Yes," she said down the spatula, "because if you killed him, I need to know what that makes me, staying here, accepting your protection." "I didn't kill him." Elias's voice was flat, "but I made it clear that if he ever sets foot in Seattle or attempts to access any of his former assets, the consequences will be immediate and permanent. He took what he could carry and fled to the East Coast. He won't be back." Relief and something darker twisted in Lena's gut. All because he threatened me. All because he thought he could take what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it made heat coil low in her belly. "You and Maya are under my protection now. Anyone who wants to harm you will have to go through me first." "We're not yours, are we?" He moved closer, the wheelchair nearly silent. "Tell me you don't feel this thing between us." "I work for you." "Damn the job." The curse, so unlike his usual controlled speech, made her breath catch. Tell me I'm imagining the way you look at me, the way you touch my hand when you think I won't notice. Tell me you don't lie awake at night wondering what it would be like. I can't. The admission tore from her throat. I can't tell you that, because it would be a lie. His eyes blazed. Then what are we doing, Lena? What is this dance we're performing? I don't know. She pressed her hands to her face. You're my boss. You're dangerous and powerful, and everything my life isn't. And you, I care about you, she whispered. More than I should. More than is smart. Elias reached out, his fingers wrapping around her wrist and tugging her closer until she was standing between his knees, his face level with her stomach. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that day in the cafe. Since your daughter asked me why I looked sad, and you apologized for something that was the only real moment I'd had in months. I was drowning before you, in bitterness and anger, and the absolute certainty that my life was over, that I was useless. His hands moved to her hips, holding her in place. Then you walked in with your pride and your strength and your ridiculous daughter, and suddenly I had a reason to wake up in the morning, a reason to fight the Vances of the world. This is crazy. We barely know each other. I know you take sugar in your coffee, but never cream. I know you sing off-key in the mornings when you think no one's listening. I know you'd burn the world down to protect Maya. And you're the only person besides me who doesn't flinch when I lose my temper. His voice dropped lower. I know that when you smile at me, really smile, I feel like maybe I'm not broken after all. You're not broken, she said fiercely, her hands coming up to frame his face. You're the strongest person I've ever met. Then let me be strong for you, for both of you. His hands tightened on her hips. Stay here, not as my employee, not as someone I'm protecting. Stay as mine. I have a 6-year-old daughter who I would give my life to protect, who already has more courage than most of my men. A smile ghosted across his lips. She asked me yesterday if I was going to marry you. Lena's breath caught. What did you tell her? That I was working on it. You're insane. Probably. He tugged her closer still until her forehead rested against his. But I meant what I said in the car. You're mine now. Both of you. I just need you to say yes. Yes to what? Moving in? Dating? What exactly are you asking? Everything. The word was a vow. I'm asking for everything, Lena. Your trust, your time, your heart. I'm asking you to take a chance on a man in a wheelchair who deals in shadows and can't protect you the way he wants to, but will die trying anyway. Stop. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. Stop talking about the wheelchair like it defines you. You're Elias Thorne. You're brilliant and fierce, and yes, a little bit terrifying. You run an empire from that chair. You took down a rival in 7 days. You make my daughter laugh, and you make me feel... Her voice cracked. You make me feel like maybe I'm not alone anymore. You're not. You'll never be alone again. Promise. I promise. He leaned forward, his lips brushing her forehead in a gesture so tender it shattered something in her chest. You saved my life that day in the cafe. Now let me spend the rest of mine making sure you never regret it. Mommy? Maya's sleepy voice broke through the moment. Why are you crying? Did Mr. Thorne make you sad? Lena laughed through her tears, pulling back to look at her daughter. No, baby, I'm happy. Oh, Maya patted over. Good, because I like him. He's nice. Am I? Elias's voice was amused. Yeah, you give good hugs, and you don't get mad when I ask questions. Maya looked up at him seriously. Are you going to be my daddy now? Elias's eyes found Lena's, asking permission. She nodded, barely able to breathe. I'd like that, he said quietly, pulling Maya into his lap. If your mama agrees. She agrees, Maya announced confidently. She's been staring at you all googly-eyed for weeks. It's gross. Elias laughed, a real, genuine sound that transformed his face into something beautiful. He reached for Lena's hand, pulling her down until she was perched on the armrest, his arm wrapped around her waist. "This is what I've been missing," he said, looking between them with something like wonder. "This is what I thought I'd never have." Lena's office duties were real. She managed his complex schedule, screened calls that could turn deadly, and quietly logged the details of the conglomerate's transactions that she knew would never bear government scrutiny. She was his gatekeeper, his mind, and his moral compass. One evening, after putting Maya to bed, Lena found Elias in his study, reviewing ledgers projected onto a screen. "I was looking over the Q4 logistics report for the Asia-Pacific routes," Lena said, her voice steady. "The margins on the pharmaceutical shipments are too high. They suggest a significant variance between the documented and actual cargo." Elias didn't look away from the screen. "That's the nature of the conglomerate, Lena. We move products quickly and discreetly. We offer a service no one else can. The service involves avoiding taxes and ignoring international laws. This is what you almost died over, Elias." He finally turned. "I almost died because I got careless, and they saw my ambition as a threat. The business is how I maintain the power to protect what's mine. You, Maya, Gareth, everyone who relies on this network. You can be powerful without being a criminal," she challenged. Elias pushed a button, and the wall panel slid open, revealing an enormous, climate-controlled safe. He took out a thick stack of papers. "Liquidate what I could legally and walk away, leaving myself vulnerable to every petty crime boss in the Pacific Northwest, or take control and use the system he built to legitimize what I could and ruthlessly eliminate the rest." He looked at her, his eyes intense. "I am not leaving this organization until it is fully clean, and that requires time and control. I am an agent of change, not a mere boss. I use the money from the shadows to build the legitimate front that will one day replace it. That's the work I need you for. You want me to help you launder the business? I want you to help me build a firewall," he corrected. "I want you to monitor the internal controls and alert me when the lines are crossed too far. I trust your morality more than I trust any of my regional managers." Lena stared at the safe, then at the man she loved. He wasn't asking her to join a criminal gang. He was asking her to help lead a complicated corporate cleanup at great personal risk. "I will only agree if we hire an external audit firm to start documenting the legal revenue stream," she stated. "Total transparency on one branch of the business, just to start." Elias smiled, the sight making her heart flitter. "Done. You are formidable, Lena Harper." "You should know that by now, Elias Thorne." He pulled her onto his lap, his voice dropping to a low murmur. "I need to tell you something else. About the accident. About why I'm in this chair." "You don't have to." "I do." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "If we're doing this, if you're really staying, you need to know everything." He recounted the story again, this time including the smell of the burning wiring, the sound of the enemy's triumphant laughter, the moment he accepted the paralysis, and the 2 years he spent in a dark depression, convinced his life was over. "They were wrong," Lena said fiercely when he was done. "You're the strongest person I've ever met." "Then show me." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Show me what it means to be yours." He kissed her then, hungry and claiming, a promise and a warning all at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elias rested his forehead against hers. "You saved my life," he repeated. "That day in the cafe, when Maya asked why I looked sad, you saved my life. I was so close to letting the darkness win. Then you smiled at me, and I remembered what it felt like to hope." "We saved each other," Lena corrected softly. "I was drowning too, in fear and exhaustion and the belief that I'd always be alone. Then you looked at me like I was worth something, and I remembered what it felt like to hope." Years later, Lena would look back on that rainy morning in the Emerald Grill as the moment everything changed. The day her life split into before and after, fear and fierce protection. The penthouse had become home. Maya's laughter echoed through rooms that had been silent for too long. Family dinners replaced lonely takeout, and slowly, carefully, Elias's smile became something she saw every day instead of a rare gift. The Thorne conglomerate adjusted. The legitimized businesses, global logistics and shipping, expanded under Lena's strict oversight. Gareth became her staunch ally in the legal restructuring, ruthlessly eliminating the remaining gray areas. The empire was not yet fully clean, but it was moving toward the light, a painstaking process driven by Elias's will and Lena's integrity. Learning how to cook with lowered countertops, homework help, fierce protection, and gentle understanding, he'd become her father in every way that mattered. On a snowy December evening, Elias found Lena standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights blur through the falling snow. He moved up behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he murmured. "That day in the cafe." She leaned back into him. "What if Maya hadn't asked you why you looked sad? What if we just walked past?" "Then I'd probably still be drowning." His lips brushed her temple. "And you'd probably still be working yourself to exhaustion trying to survive." "So we saved each other." "We did." His hand moved to her left hand, thumb tracing the wedding band there, the one he'd given her in a small, private ceremony overlooking the Sound. "Best decision I ever made." "Asking me to marry you?" "Letting your daughter ask me why I looked sad," he corrected. "She saw me, really saw me. Not the wheelchair, not the power, not the danger, just a lonely man who needed someone to care. You both saved me. Now I get to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it." "Gross," Maya's voice called from the kitchen. "Stop being mushy and come help me with dinner. Just because you guys are married doesn't mean you get to be annoying." They laughed, the sound twining together in the warm air. As they moved toward the kitchen, toward family and food, and the simple joy of being together, Lena caught Elias's hand. "We'll keep saving each other every day, no matter what comes," she said softly. "Even when Maya becomes a teenager?" "Even then." His laugh was rich and warm. "Then I guess we better get used to chaos." "Wouldn't have it any other way." Lena leaned into him, letting herself feel the safety of his embrace. Outside, Seattle glittered beneath them, a city full of danger and possibility. But here, in this moment, with Elias's heartbeat steady beneath her ear and the promise of tomorrow stretching out ahead, Lena let herself believe in happy endings. Love, she'd learned, didn't always arrive the way you expected. Sometimes it came in a wheelchair, with danger trailing behind it and a broken man asking to be saved. Sometimes you walked into a cafe with your daughter's hand in yours and walked out with a future you'd never dared to imagine. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, that future became home.